All right, it's an impromptu 128 KB podcast, so welcome back, and it's a lack of popular demand that brings us here, and we have kidnapped Jason England from Tom's Guide, who is at Computex, and has been hands-on with the new MSI, so we kidnapped him, and we want to grill him on everything he knows.
We do, yes.
Be nice to me, lads. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, we won't be nice, but we will have you. I want to start off with, first of all, what is your initial first reaction to what Intel have done with the G3 Extreme and this MSI device? What's your gut reaction to it straight away?
Absolutely. So it's one of those things at the show where it wasn't a massive surprise that Intel was doing this. So it's basically the same panthalate silicon as you'd find in current Intel Core to Series 3 laptops, where the integrated GPU kind of shocked me in terms of what it could do. But it's a more GPU-focused kind of thing. So less CPU cores and more of a focus on getting rid of some of the media engines and stuff, because you're not really going to use your gaming handheld to edit video and stuff like that. It's going to be much more, you're playing games and stuff. And the end result of that is what I feel from my time testing it, and I'll show you guys what I've been testing in a bit, is what actually feels like a next generation in handheld gaming in terms of what it's truly capable of.
I'm so glad you said that, because obviously we're sat from the sidelines here just seeing MSI's and Intel's kind of marketing spiel about, look at all this performance. And because we haven't been hands-on, we've been taking it with a pinch of salt, but we've also been seeing this as this actually looks like a true next generation experience, rather than what we saw from Z1 Extreme to Z2, which was so incremental in terms of just focusing on efficiency. This really looks like it's got some power behind it.
Yeah. And that's a bit that's surprised me as well, in that AMD has had the benefit of just about a year knowing that this thing is coming.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been any sort of improvements from them. It's been that very incremental from Z1 to Z2. And of course, there's been desktop GPU side news from them that their FSR4 is coming to the RDNA 3 architecture that is in the handheld. And then when I asked them, they didn't have any plans to bring it. So it feels as if it feels score one advantage for Team Blue at the moment.
Have you had that confirmed? Because obviously when they made that announcement, our first reaction was, will they bring this down to the integrated, the APUs? And then we couldn't get word from anyone that it was actually going to happen. Yeah. So are they not going to do that, AMD?
This was my very first question. It was all very much a bit wishy-washy all over the place in terms of it's obviously something that we'll look at and things like that, but we want to make sure we get things right and everything. And that's when my writer at that point in time, a guy called Sanush Bhatia, then kind of put it onto him. It's so can we just say it's something that you're looking into? And then I didn't say it's something that we're looking into kind of thing. So it's a bit non-committal in that way.
So you're absolutely right. It is score one Intel in that sense.
Yeah, because we were...
Especially...
Sorry. No,
I was going to say, especially considering the steps that XeSS 3 brings to the handheld space.
That's where we are at, isn't it? Because I was thinking if they do bring FSR4 Int 8 to the APUs, then at least they've got that, which can't match machine learned XeSS 3, but at least there was something. But to hear it from you now that basically immediately at least it's not going to be happening, we might have to wait. That's a definite letdown on the AMD side for sure.
Yeah, and it's essentially made for what I feel Computex has been very interesting this year, in that it's felt like it's a bit of a changing of the guard when it comes to silicon, in that Intel's always had the good laptop CPUs or the sort of decent desktop GPUs, but then it's always you always saw AMD would bring something out and then everybody would be oh, it's this thing, we're going to go over and look at this thing.
Yes.
And whether through whatever machinations may have happened over this point in time, It's felt as if AMD's been very much caught on the back foot with this. And I don't know whether this is their mind is going elsewhere with like AI data centers and stuff like that, whatever it may be. But ultimately, that's kind of come to this end point where AMD handhelds have kind of come to this standstill until we're waiting for this like next generation. But then Intel's already kind of like swooped in and introduced that for us.
Absolutely feels that way. Yeah, certainly.
So performance-wise, actually, before we get into performance, do you have the Claw to hand? Are we allowed to see it?
That is a very convenient question, almost as if it was very conveniently staged by us lot just before we started recording. But yes, this
I wish I could feel
MSI
that.
Claw 8EX AI Plus.
Can we just say that it is a keyboard smash of a title? Like they've just gone.
Yeah, someone just
Yes.
It's a Wi-Fi password.
Shout out to the colleagues at MSI who gave me the handheld. Obviously, you already know my thoughts about the name.
And we talk a lot about the name. Now, I don't want to drop on it too hard, but the name thing, the Ace are doing the similar thing with putting the size screen in the name of the device, is fine if you're in the room when it's being designed, but for like a wider gaming public, it breaks the norms of understanding what generation steps there are between devices.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the last Claw, all of them were 8 as well. So it's like, it would be easier to understand if they just ditched that bit, at least.
Oh, yeah. Like, I think the thing that I've just sort of like realized while I'm talking to you about it, it seems like with each generation of like the MSI Claw 8, they just add 2 letters to the name.
Yeah, that's literally it, isn't it? Yeah.
To then signify the next one. Like it was like 8 and then 8 AI Plus, and now it's 8EX AI Plus.
Yeah.
And God knows what the next one's going to be.
McDonald, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So since you've got one in hand, the first thing that shouts out is that they've copied ASUS's homework here with the controller layout. They've clearly taken heavy inspiration from the Xbox controller, but just first, like, what comes to mind is compared to the Xbox Ally series, what feels more comfortable in hand?
So you're absolutely right that they are very similar in hand feel and everything, and that there's the more pronounced grips on the back and everything, and they do jut out from the bottom and everything, as you can see. Of course, there's a bit of a chin on the screen, which we can get into in a sec. But it's very neck and neck. Like, hand feel, they're both incredibly similar in terms of what they can do. Obviously, for portability, the ROG Xbox Ally has the advantage of like having like the smaller display and things like that. But the Claw 8EX EIEIO has a leg up in terms of like being able to like feel that portable, but then also have a bigger display as well.
Yeah.
The chin. Okay, you said it. The chin. I often have these things. I have to temper my reactions when you first get like the first press releases of devices. I had a terrible reaction to the Xbox Ally X and the Allies going, it looks really ugly. And then actually when you get it in hand, it makes more sense, and that kind of aesthetic disappears in favor of the ergonomics. How is the chin in hand? Is it as chinny as it looks?
It is chinny, but it's one of those things that, exactly as you said, like, I think I had that same experience when I first saw the ROG Xbox Ally, when you kind of look at it versus like the more simple sort of like candy bar handhelds of like the original Ally and stuff like that. You're just kind of looking at it and just being like, this looks a bit like a toy. And then when you actually got it in the hand, it's like, okay, this kind of makes sense. I saw like the display jutting out and everything, and I was just like, okay, this looks weird. And then when I actually got the thing in my hand, when I went to like MSI's HQ and like had to play around with it and stuff like that, it started like, the chin doesn't actually get in the way of like your hands playing or anything like that, and B, it's just more real estate of like the screen. So like it's a full sort of like 16 by 10, 1920 by 1200 display. And it's not getting in the way of your fingers or thumbs. Like, like that.
Yeah, to me, like my initial impression was like, whoa, chin. But then the more I looked at it, I was like, actually, I kind of weirdly like it, even in like an odd, like slightly disgusting way. And I actually like the purple colorway as well. But the way I thought of it is that it probably makes those controller horns more comfortable than if they try to match the full 16 by 10 like width, because then maybe it might have been like too girthy and big. So like it having that little jut out, I'm with you. Like you've got more visual, real estate. So I actually personally kind of like it, as much as other people don't.
Yeah, and I mean, a phenomenal example of this is because I don't have any more reveals here, unfortunately, but I have tried the other handhelds.
Oh, yes.
So I got to speak to Intel. I got to try the other ones. So another good example to kind of show one without a chin is the Acer Predator Atlas 8.
Yep.
And to kind of encompass that whole display, you see the controllers feel a bit more flatter. There isn't really that much of a pronounced grip around the hands. So you see the hand can actually swoop down next to the chin and everything. Yep. Whereas with this, it doesn't necessarily have that same sort of ergonomic feel to it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people from the hands-on have been praising, particularly the bumpers and the triggers as well, enjoying the feel of the inputs on it. Have you noticed that that's an improvement on them?
Yes, the buttons on the 8 AI Plus and then the 8 before that, they've always been. It's been the buttons and the grips have always been my main beef of all the MSI handhelds. In that there wasn't really much of a grip to kind of get your hands around.
Yes,
and also the buttons all felt usually. The shoulder buttons, the R1 and R2, were usually very sort of had a very sort of clicky feel that I wasn't too happy about, but then the directional buttons and the face buttons all felt a bit spongy in a way. Yeah. Whereas there's now a metal plate under the D-pad that gives it a much more solid tactile feel. The face buttons feel a lot better as well. And then as we've been talking about, the grips have a much bigger pronounced presence.
Yes.
In that it fits your hand really well, and they've put this super grippy texture on it as well.
One thing I was really keen to hear about, and it's something that Andy bashed the A8 for, was the rumble. The rumble in that was disgusting.
I'm so glad you remember that.
The worst part of that, it was a great device. Worst part about it was the rumble. It felt cheap and rattly.
It was that bad that if I was on the spot and I had to buy one, choose one out of a selection of handhelds and just pick it on Rumble alone, that would be my last choice. Out of everything I tried, the previous MSIs, the Rumble was horrible.
They made a big point of stressing that it's a haptic style Rumble on this, sort of HD style.
Linear,
Yeah, linear motors. What's your experience of that?
So I'm so glad you asked this, because it is one of, if outside of Arc G3 Extreme being inside it and stuff, it's one of the biggest upgrades I've felt. I can talk about the design and stuff, but the only way I can try to describe it is, think if gaming handhelds had their PS5 DualSense controller moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
In terms of haptic feedback, in terms of what it can do, that it's much sharper and it's much more detailed and dense in terms of how much feedback it can provide.
Nice.
Amazing. I want to talk about performance. I didn't expect to go straight into ergonomics like that, but performance is why everyone's here. It's why everyone's excited. The G3 Extreme is very exciting. We've seen claims from them in their slides that they sent out to us. The 44% faster than the last generation. Intel. I think that's Intel to Intel is what they're talking.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And then 42% faster than the Z2E at 35 watts. Can you put some context to those numbers? Does that feel real? And is that what you're seeing in what you've been able to play?
Yes? Question mark. No.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I'll stop being evasive. So compared to like Intel's Lunar Lake chip, absolutely, it feels like a night and day difference.
Wow.
In terms of the frame rate that you're able to get and things like that. So, and then there was, so for example, like the MSI demo that I went to, they had like certain games that I could play. It was very much like, it was one of those things that you get like many of these press demos, don't you? Where it's just like, well, you can go hands on with this thing, but you can only do this, this, and this. The things that make us look the best. And one of the things that they stopped us from playing, even though it was pre-installed on them, is Forza Horizon 6, which I thought was interesting in terms of...
It's a driver thing?
Why... I don't know, but then when I went to the Acer booth to try the Predator Atlas 8, the thing with the same chip in it, they just had it playing. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to open this. And even if Intel told me not to play it, like Acer's just got it readily available. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a go. And so as a base rate for what it is capable of, so 35 watts, 1200p at high settings without ray tracing, 62 frames per second.
That's crazy.
Then I went a little bit silly with it, put it to ultra, turned on ray tracing, 42 frames per second. And this
with
is
ray tracing.
With ray tracing. Obviously, I wasn't too much of a maniac with that. I did put XeSS onto balanced for that.
Okay.
But for context, and then there's the one with the high settings that was without any XeSS turned on.
So that was just raster performance.
Yeah, that was just raw performance.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it really, this really is, regardless of the numbers they're putting on this, because we can all kind of take that with a pinch of salt, just genuinely in hand, this is a generational moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
For handhelds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, if you're getting like a raw performance, raster performance baseline of like high settings, 1200p, it wasn't even like you're going at like 800p or something. If you threw on XeSS on top of that and then like frame gen on top of that as well, you could be breaking like well over like 150 FPS or something like that.
You could hit the cap of the monitor.
Oh, easily.
Of the display.
You would be capping out at 120 hertz for sure.
Well, I'm so glad you said that, because then the demos that they did at the MSI Center, it was F125, Hogwarts Legacy, and Battlefield 6. These were, and I can tell why these picked these three games, because that's the first three that Intel told me that I could test with the Intel Core Ultra X9 38, whatever it's called, with those laptops.
Yes.
With those laptops, with their like 12 Xe core GPUs. And their main selling point for those is like our XeSS is super performant while also maintaining like decent responsiveness, because of course you need to start with a strong base rate to actually make frame gen make sense. And F125, for example, this is, so at first we tried it at like medium to high settings with, without XeSS, you were getting like 60 FPS. Turning on XeSS 3 to like balance and then put multi-frame gen 4X on it, you're getting 200. Like, do you really need 200 frames per second on a handheld? No, but it's absolutely possible and it's super responsive. And then this is the extra added cherry on top with it, where I think in terms of like handhelds and where we are at the moment before this Arc G3 Extreme handheld came over, is one of the beauties of the Nintendo Switch 2 versus everything else was that it was one of those things you could very easily just put in the home, put in the TV,
dock it,
get the controllers off and play. Yeah, dock it. Thank you. I completely forgot the words on about 2 hours sleep here, lads. With the AMD handhelds and stuff, sure, you could probably get like a 1080p resolution, but there wasn't really that sort of like dock it. You'd always dock it and like hope for the best at like 1440p or 4K, or you'd have to like really turn down the resolution unless you're playing an indie game. So they showed us this demo with F125 running docked on a 4K TV. So this is like a higher wattage that was going through at that point in time. I think about like 42 watts or something like that.
Yep.
And that was like 4K medium resolution, XeSS at balanced 90 frames per second.
That is unbelievable.
It feels like it's that meeting point of like it's finally giving sort of like Windows gaming handhelds like that Nintendo Switch moment, and it's making it make sense. It's like a console OS kind of experience in that way.
I'm so glad you've used the Switch as the analogy as well, because that's the reference point we often make is games are really well optimized for it, but more than anything else, from a user experience, it's just this guaranteed performance, docked or not. And when the PC handhelds get to that point, then their accessibility to the wider gaming market becomes more valid, and the price point makes a bit more sense. With XeSS, we have kind of a checkered experience with FSR. Like some of the things it can offer is good on paper, but when I actually get to use it, like visual performance tends to break down quite a lot. Some games just tend to look better with it switched off entirely. I think 007 First Light's a good example of that.
Yes.
Recently. What's the kind of visual experience like with XeSS? Does it hold up a lot stronger than FSR
and
does?
Specifically frame generation as well, is because I know XeSS generally just on its own, just the super resolution, I tend to favor that over any other upscaler, like on the handheld side. Like it's much more stable than FSR. But like frame generation on the current handhelds we've got, I always disable, just because so many like screen tearing, like there's a lot of issues with it, and I just don't like it. Whereas I'm intrigued to hear what you've got to say there about it being machine learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So like the main things when it comes to any sort of like machine learned or AI trickery that may be used in terms of like DLSS, FSR, as you guys are talking about, and XeSS, like you said, it's three key things. It's the ghosting, it's the latency, and it's the screen tearing. And a great example as kind of like the base rate where I'm at the moment. So I'm still using my OG Steam Deck at the moment. And whenever I turned on like, it was the Last of Us Part 1, and I'd turn on FSR, and the very first thing you'd get like 3 of Joel as you spin the camera around and things like that. Like it's not that great at keeping up with things. And then on the DLSS side, let's go with DLSS 3 on like a couple of games, like a couple of years back. Like the first thing you would immediately notice is the screen would start to tear. Yep. And then also the latency, it's more of a like, if you view the AI trickery as like a magic silver bullet in that, I can turn everything to ultra and turn it on, and that's going to make my games magically smooth. Like that's not how it works. No. Like I said to you guys before, like you have to start with the solid base rate to make it make sense.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately, like if you take a game that's running at like 10 frames per second and say, by the way, it's now 60 frames per second. It may look 60 frames,
it still feels
10 frames.
Yeah, the latency's the same.
Exactly. And all I can say is XeSS 3 on something like a laptop with a bigger display, sure. There are some moments in something like a Battlefield 6 where things can be super fast moving, or a Formula One game, like the chain link fence as you're driving down, that you may start to see some like telltale ghosting around some of the parts of the fence and stuff like that. But still, I was shocked at how good it could be on something like a 15-inch laptop. But take that, squish it down to an 8-inch display, and it's very hard to see any of that.
Yeah.
The other side of it, of course, is the latency angle of it, which, again, on a laptop, if you're using like a keyboard and mouse, some of that latency can be noticed. Not massively so, but then all you have to do is go back into the settings and tweak it a little bit. But then if you're on something like this, you've got a controller, and a controller naturally masks some of that latency in terms of like the games that you're playing. Exactly, yeah. So I would say it's a significant bump over what you guys have been seeing in FSR.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've hoped for. Because again, on the AMD front, I tend to just turn all that off if possible. I'll render a lower resolution and just go raw performance and just kind of hope for the best. If it's over 40 FPS, I'm happy, or 40 thereabouts, 30 at a push. But now I'm thinking, because this actually has an NPU, it's using machine learned upscaling stuff. I think it's going to get to that point, as you basically just described, that it's usable. I just think it's funny that the Xbox Ally X has an NPU that still can't do machine learned upscaling. I know we've got ASR, but it's not really comparable in my opinion.
No. And a lot of that, a lot of what surprised me about like the aided like frame generation resolution scaling is how that can be added on top of like being much more efficient with your console and things like that in terms of how much power you're pushing through it. Like it's a real sort of like value unlock in terms of giving you more battery life on the back end. So
that's a really good segue, because I was then going to ask about the efficiency of this thing. Because again, Intel claiming that you're getting the same performance as the Z2E at 17 watts if the Z2E was at 35. So literally like half the power draw for the same performance. Does that play out from what you've seen?
So the science behind it is, like I said at the top, like the CPU's been dropped by 2 cores. So like there's 2 performance. I'll be honest, it's late. I know it's a lower amount of performance cores, then there's efficiency cores and low power efficiency cores.
That's right. Yep.
And one of the things when I was speaking to Intel is they were talking about a lot of the games like in a like what the CPU's brain is needing to do to kind of like file the game off to the GPU and run the physics and stuff. Pretty much all of that is now being filed off to like the efficiency cores or the LPE cores.
Nice.
And that was surprising to me because it's like, yeah, you've got all this performance stuff going on over here. Why does it? And in their words, it's like, well, it doesn't need to go there. Like the efficiency stuff is more than fast enough to like handle these games and everything. And what you're getting from that is exactly what they're saying. Like you turn it down to like endurance mode or like endurance mode and really bring down the wattage to like 17 watts, you can get the same frame rate as something that could be a little bit more power hungry, like the performance cores of an AMD Ryzen Z2 Extreme, the power, which again, it's one of those things where on the face of it, when you're playing the game, it's like, okay, this feels the same as what it felt like on the previous system. But then you're just taking into account just how much more battery you're going to save for that flight over to your weekend creep and stuff like that. Like you get like much more game time on that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's insane.
Because I saw Intel were talking about how they've changed the power management and basically stopped giving the CPU side so much power, so that it was like more focused on the GPU side as well. With their new like I can't remember exactly what they called it, but basically you can set like frame caps, and then it will make sure that it's like way more efficient in that regard as well.
Exactly, like, and it's the that's it, intelligent power management, IPM. That's it. And yes, so there's definitely some like very sort of like simple mechanics that you can go into in like the menus and stuff and just be like, I want endurance mode, and it will just figure out all the stuff in the background and just kind of give you like, you'll get this frames per second. But then you can set up like, I want to target 40 frames per second, and then the IPM can come in and like move the wattage to whatever that may need to be to actually make that make sense.
That's great. That's really good.
Was there anything about this that wasn't on paper that surprised you? Was there anything that's like stood out as like, I wasn't expecting this to be that good?
In my mind, a couple of bits sort of like really jumped out at me. Like, first of all, it was the power efficiency of it. So, Greg, like just a really tiny example. So at the hotel I'm at, when I got the Claw, I wanted to like download games onto it. But of course, I'm on hotel Wi-Fi. So the moment I was like, I want Forza Horizon 6, and it's like 160 gigabyte game.
See you tomorrow.
That was going to take like a solid day and a half sort of thing. And I had it charged to like 100%. And the plug sockets near my bed, when you turn the lights off, they turn the power socket off.
Yeah, the worst kind.
I thought that was complete curtains for the power as it was just downloading and stuff like that. Didn't even think about it. It was at 100%. I turned the lights off, went to sleep. Had the best night's sleep of my life, about 10 hours.
Wow.
And I woke up, the battery was at 88%.
Whoa.
Wow.
That's
Obviously, it's doing a very simple task.
Yes.
Like downloading a game. Like, obviously, mileage may vary. Like, if you're going to throw a game at it, like, you're not going to get like 10 hours of battery life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for this particular circumstance, and I feel like you wouldn't get anywhere near that with like an AMD handheld.
No, it would be like below 50%.
Yeah, for certain.
Yeah.
I think I can leave my Steam Deck on idle and it will go down lower than that.
And then on the flip side, then, is there anything that stood out as like not great? What would you like? Anything?
Could be better.
Yeah. What would you change, or they should have thought of, or?
Don't dunk on them.
So
they've let you borrow it. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that like it's why I'm facing the hotel room door, so that if they come in behind me, you can let me know.
Yeah.
So I guess my main gripe with it is the same as it's always been with like XeSS and things like that, which is game support. So there's like Intel's putting on this big gamble, and it's very much the assumption that it's like, we have this and we can do this. We're giving you a powerful GPU, so you've got decent rasterized performance, but we would really like it if you use this. And the developer adoption, it's there, it's growing, but it's barely touching the sides of what you're seeing from like a DLSS or an FSR.
Totally. Yeah, well, that's exactly what we've been saying on this lead up as well. Is like, it's great and all the numbers and everything look great, but it's still in like last place in terms of, like you said, DLSS and FSR. So
at least it's going to be a smoother start than it was for the last generation.
That's
with
true,
the Claw 8, whatever the keyboard jargon was for that one. Because that was a bumpy start with XeSS, and it got better. It got a lot better, and then it's going to be a much smoother start than that. And like AMD have got the advantage of their close relationship with the console manufacturers as well, so they kind of, their adoption's always going to be wider, isn't it? What they do.
Exactly.
What the final one I'm curious about is the screen, because obviously screens are going to be a big conversation topic right now, with ASUS doing an OLED, even though it is stuck to a pair of glasses. And of course you've got the 1X player, which is way more niche, but that's going to be an 8.8 OLED as well. So OLED's going to be talk of the town again. How does this screen hold up, in your opinion?
So in the IPS versus OLED debate, OLED's going to always win every single time. And the main question at that point is, what can the IPS provide to actually kind of make up that shortfall? And yeah, I know it comes down to like brightness and color tuning and then the variable refresh rate, which this absolutely has, which kind of keeps things nice and fluid no matter what you're doing or throwing at it, and also can maintain some like better power efficiency as well. And then the screen can get bright and the screen feels pretty colorful to me. Obviously, the color advantage will always go to OLED.
Yes.
But it feels as if this panel has been good, whether I've been playing it out and about in Taipei or whether I've been in bed over here.
Thing we often say about it, because we were quite defensive with ASUS sticking to an IPS for so long because of the inclusion of VRR, and there was obviously that concern at the time that OLED couldn't handle VRR very well without introducing VRR flicker, which was perhaps why, especially on lower power devices, which is why they were sticking at it. And we've often said, like, if you're having a good time with an IPS screen and it looks good to you right now, don't look at the OLED and you'll be absolutely
you'll
fine.
be totally fine, yeah.
In isolation, they are perfect. It's only when you see it in contrast that it's an issue.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's why there used to be a guy who worked on my Tom's Guide team called Dave. And he was, I would always end up just like calling him like an OLED snob, because every single time he'd like review something, he'd be like, it's good, but it's not OLED, is it? It's like, come on, mate. Like, there's more like significant, there's more like specific details and like differentials in that. And also, just because one has better color doesn't mean it's completely the end of the world for IPS as well.
Absolutely. And I've been using really recently the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus, obviously the non-EX. And the screen on that is great. And that's just an 8-inch IPS. I believe it's the same screen that's in this EX model. And it's great. Like, again, if you see it in isolation, it's a really good screen. And for IPS, it's not a bad panel that we've seen on, older devices.
It's got a fairly wide VRR window as well, isn't it? So it's handy for the handhelds
yes,
as well.
Yeah. Like, ultimately, I agree with what you guys are saying in that IPS is not the absolute end of the world. Like, OLED is definitely like a very nice to have, and it makes games look really pretty, but it's not the be all and end all in handheld gaming.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to wrap it up there. I want to know, you guys, if you've got any questions about it, leave it in the comments. We'll throw them over to Jason. We'll kidnap again at some point when he's back from. You're going to China next. You go. What's it? Shenzhen, is it?
Yeah, I'm going to China, and
Nice.
I'm going to go tour some SSD and RAM foundries and go ask them why we're not making things cheaper. Which,
Yes.
I mean, if you want to ask about that, like, I don't have anything about. Nothing's been confirmed about pricing, but I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a bit nervous about how much this thing's going to cost.
Yeah.
I mean, we speculate a lot.
I was about to say, you were going straight to like, let me know in the comments, and you've got me here for a while.
Well, yeah, pricing. Okay, so we've heard, at first it was $1,500, and then we've heard $1,699 from a Best Buy listing that was taken down, and that may have been confirmed by one of the MSI staff, but anything else we've heard has been very coy, and they don't want to confirm or corner themselves, so it feels a bit fluid. Is that what you're getting?
Price is the one thing no company wants to talk to you about at Computex, ever, anywhere, for the life of me. And you can understand why, because it's thanks to the massive AI data center gold rush that's going on at the moment, which have put your own thoughts in the comments, guys. That I'm definitely not a fan. I'll be real with you. This is going to, like, this specific model that I've got, like, I know Arc G3 is kind of coming a little bit further down the line. This is like the Arc G3 Extreme with 24 gigabytes of RAM, which, yikes. And we put the question to MSI. We were just like, okay, so what is the price you are targeting for this? And in their answer, again, very sort of like vague terms as you guys are talking about, and they had acknowledged like the retailer leaks and things like that. They are trying to target $1,500, which is still when I think about like the way the handheld market is going at the moment, like with the Steam Deck price increases and all this stuff, like, is a gargantuan price for something like this.
It's insane when just literally like 6 months ago, even, it was like half the price for like a top end device.
Oh yeah, which absolutely hurts, because it's like, as we've been talking about, like, this feels like a generational shift moment for handheld gaming, and we should all be here thinking, oh, you can get this thing for $800, $900.
Yeah.
And we'd be like, I am so in for that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's everything in gaming, everything in computing at the moment has to come with this like asterisk of like be prepared to possibly sell your kidney to get this thing.
That's literally what we've been saying in the videos we've been doing on this. It's like, which leg and which kidney do you want to get rid of?
We're like personally in an awful position because we do tend to buy the current generation to do like continued coverage for the year, like post-release coverage and like updates and looking at game performance and stuff. It's the first generation we're looking at and going, it's just not feasible. And then when we're like giving like consumer advice, which is obviously a big part of what we all do, it's like, can I recommend it? It was like a handheld PC at 1,500. It's a very difficult thing to recommend to the general public, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to be real about it.
Yeah. And of course, again, this is just like them saying, we're aiming for this. Like, that word aiming is doing a lot of heavy lifting there in terms of what that may actually mean.
Yeah.
And again, going back to it, like, how old is Steam Deck now? Like, I think I got
4
mine
years.
Back in 2022. 4 years. It's 4 years old, and now it's $1,000. Like, there's something's going fundamentally wrong here, and like the pricing is kind of like going just that little bit further out of reach of things. Where at the end of the day, like, if people are getting into handheld gaming, like there's a couple of different routes. Like, I've seen some companies say cloud gaming is the thing, and I know that ASUS got their own Predator cloud gaming handheld, which it's a bit naff, I'm not gonna lie. And then there's the other side of like maybe going sort of like an older generation, which when you're looking at XeSS 3 support, that is now supported by Lunar Lake handhelds. So maybe if maybe if like the Claw 8 AI Plus got cheaper, but then that's in the same situation, and that's also like over $1,000 now.
Yeah.
It's an interesting time, and without a better way of saying it, and I do write about it a lot, if this bubble can pop sooner rather than later, that would be splendid.
Oh, absolutely. And it surprises us because let's just flip to Switch 2 because we brought it up earlier. When that got announced, everyone was really upset about the price. As much as people in the comments disagree, they did, and it was, of course, because of the game prices as well. But I'm just talking hardware here. The price of that console, everyone was like, oh, that is just too expensive. And then that's recently got a price hike of like $50? And then you look at the PC side and they're like double the price. It's not like a 10% increase. It's like 100% increase.
Yeah, go over to Lenovo and look at the Legion Go 2.
Legion Go 2, yeah.
It's over doubled in price.
It's like up to $3,000. And it's just absolutely insane. So, I mean, to be fair, it is very enticing to look towards something like the Switch 2 now for someone starting out into handheld gaming, even though you have to buy new games.
And Lenovo was the company that told Tom's Guide at the beginning of this year, don't worry, we're sat on a year's worth of RAM. Everything is okay. Really?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Did they have a really long nose as they said it? Like...
they shot the starting pistol for the handhelds on like what the thresholds are and what's going to be deemed acceptable. They really shot the starting pistol on it. I was going to say the madness is now that we're looking at mainstream brands like the main PC manufacturers pricing their devices at the price points that we used to see, like One X Player and Neo, like the really super niche Strix Halo stuff. Yeah, the mainstream manufacturers are now hitting those price points
with weaker hardware.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. It all feels upside down, and it's a bit confusing for us to how to best guide people.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I know we're getting more like existential about this here, but like I know that like this was all like from a couple of comments that I got from Niche over at Intel about it, and they were just like, oh yeah, like OEMs have been thinking about this. They're like sitting on like 6 months, maybe a year of like RAM. It should be okay. We're working closely with our partners. And then fast forward 6 months and prices are all going a bit out of control. And then also on the flip side of that, like when that big question of like when this will end, and I know that everybody's got their different answers and different theories. Like for me, it's either a bubble pop that's going to do it, or it's going to be something more fundamental to I know that some Chinese RAM foundries are going to be super consumer focused, and then hopefully by that point we're looking more like mid 2027, which is still a long ways to go. But then speaking to ASUS about this stuff again back at CES, like their general take is everybody is making money hand over fist. So when the RAM prices do start to come down, it's going to be a bit of a game of chicken in terms of who drops that price first.
Yeah, because they're just going to sit on those profits, aren't they?
Yeah, we've likened it to when you had the cryptocurrency thing with GPUs pre-COVID, and then there was a silicone shortage around COVID time as well. I don't know if you remember that. And prices of those various components spiked. They did come down, but they never went back to like pre that event moment. They stayed at a higher point. I think we're going to see the same thing here. It's never going to go back to the good old days. I think
they're trying to figure out a new normal. Yeah.
And because we're so isolated on handhelds, and obviously you cover like all things, is it the same in like the laptop market and stuff like that? Are you seeing that big of a jump up in like doubling, tripling of prices? Or is it like handhelds are worse off?
Handhelds are definitely feeling the brunt of it, but it's something that's being felt across computing. So, like, there's been a fair few laptops that I've reviewed this year that when I'd go to CES, the general math of it at this point has been like, whatever price they told me they're targeting at CES, take that, add about 300 to it. And then that's what you ultimately got. And then you'd kind of get like questions in your emails just like, hey, I saw you gave it this score. Like, what happened here? And it's like, well, you told me it was this, and now it's not. I don't know what's going on here. Well, carry on. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was going to change the topic, but like, whilst we're on existential, we also, on a more positive note, we also saw huge moves from NVIDIA at Computex, moving in with the RTX Spark. We've long fantasized, probably since like the Switch 2 kind of time, we've long fantasized about NVIDIA getting into handhelds. The RTX Spark stuff, I know it's probably not day one that their target, but because it's kind of laptop focused, it feels like only a step away from handheld gaming. What do you know?
I'd agree with that. And to that point, like, it's NVIDIA Tegra that's in the Switch. Like, this wouldn't be their first rodeo to just make that logical step into PC handhelds. And I got into a Q&A with Jensen about it. Raised my hand, asked the question. At first, I was like, because this was like back on June 2nd, like a couple of days ago, I was like, so today's my birthday, so if you could give me a juicy answer, that'd be a good gift. What I got instead was a signed plate from him, which basically...
Will it make it home to anything? Will it survive the flight?
I mean, that's $1 million question, isn't it? Otherwise, I can't really sell it on eBay. No, I'm kidding. But it was a very sort of like, if there's an appetite for it, they will absolutely work with whoever I'm making it. Like, their focus at the moment is very much like this. What was their phrase? They want to reinvent the PC. Yeah, they want their agentic version of Windows 11 and stuff like that. And then when I got round to testing RTX Spark laptops, that stuff is absolutely there. But for me, it was very much having the same power as an RTX 5070 in a laptop. And being able to play games at that level and actually seeing Windows on ARM kind of sort of start to make sense. Turns out you just needed a massive bloody GPU to kind of make it make sense. But then we kind of go back to that same situation again, where it's like 128 gigs of RAM God knows how much that's going to cost when it comes out this fall.
Yeah, that's just going to price itself well out, isn't it? For most people, at least.
It would be genuinely exciting. This has always been our fantasy. Seeing how well, like you say, the Tegra does inside the Switch and the Switch 2 with the games that are optimized for it, DLSS being there. It would genuinely be exciting to see them step in, or an OEM to pick it up and step into the handheld space with it.
Especially with a higher powered, like a high budget. You think of like Switch 2 being literally the cheapest thing now. Yeah. If you had, say, a 1,500 budget for an RTX Spark to be thrown in there, that could have some serious power compared.
Exactly. And like, you don't like, it doesn't necessarily need to be like the full blown, like, 1 petaflop chip that you get in something like this current like RTX Spark. And I know that one of the things that Jensen was talking about is like, this is the top tier of like a family of chips that they're coming out with. And it's like some kind of like binned chip within a handheld that has the DLSS 4.5, that has all of this stuff. Like, this is answering all of those same questions that the XeSS in the Intel handheld has.
Exactly.
And one of the things that they were very, very quick to tell me, because when I went to go see Qualcomm, for example, like every time I talked to them about like Snapdragon X Elite, it's like, we're working on anti-cheat, I promise. We're working on it. We're going to fix it. Someone's got a cute dog in the background, by the way.
Yes.
And the first thing that they were like is like, we've fixed anti-cheat. So anti-cheat now works natively on ARM for these things in terms of like compatibility and things like that.
Wow.
So these things are being developed. These things are moving forward in a gaming perspective. So then, to your point, why don't they just stick it in the handheld, call it a day, and have their own like Nintendo Switch moment, but for PC gamers?
Yeah. I think in truth, it's going to be someone niche like One X player that will do it first. And we'll do a super niche, expensive version.
Yeah, I think
we saw with Strix Halo.
Yeah, that's the thing. They will just crowbar a full-sized one in, though. Unlike what like MSI and everyone
with an external battery.
Yeah, well, exactly that. Unlike the current, the new Intel G3 and G3 Extreme, which is like specifically designed for handheld. Like someone like One X Player or GBD or whatever will just take the full-size laptop variant of it and cram it in, but.
Yeah. Talking of G3, that's really interesting. Is there G3? Was it there as well? Not the extreme variant.
No, the other G3's wasn't there, and I mean standard press practice, isn't it? Where it's like you show them the best thing.
Yeah.
But there's genuine interest in the G3s. I think Acer are going to be a wild card in this generation with the G3s, primarily when people are now weighing up price per performance. And everything going crazy. It's going to be interesting to see where the G3 sits in this pecking order compared to like the Z2E stuff with AMD. Do you get better price for performance, and is it able to undercut what's there?
Yeah, and I mean in terms of the GPU that's in there, so I know that the Extreme's based on the Arc B390 that's in the X9 3 whatever. And then I know that the other one is the Arc B370.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. I've got good fact checkers over there in the UK. Much appreciated. Which is based on like the X7 chip and lower. And in our benchmarking of the laptop variants of these, like you're looking at about 15-20% reduction in frame rate. Like,
wow.
And this is like on like raw rasterization, but then obviously you like turn on XeSS. And then I guess the ultimate question is, do you really miss that 15-20% in that end scenario? And what can they do with the price in that situation?
Then, isn't it?
That's it. If they get the pricing right, that's also just killed the Z2 Extreme, in my opinion.
Yeah. Like, even if it's like a slight trade-off of like, even if it had like, when it's talking about like the same frame rate at 17 watts versus 35 watts in AMD, like even if it's like you get like, it's going to be like 15-20% less frames on the G3 versus the Ryzen Z2 Extreme. Like I'd still take that trade-off, because then, as we've been talking about, so long as you're setting a good base rate of like frames, you can make up the difference with all of your AI trickery and stuff like that.
And it's going to be way more efficient as well than, the
Exactly.
Z2 Extreme. That's I think that's going to be the underdog here. Obviously, all eyes are on the Extreme variant because that's what's being shown. But I think the G3 is going to like slip under and be the one for a lot of people, especially in this pricing sort of where we're sat with pricing right now is just ridiculous. So hopefully someone can make something a bit cheaper. We're kind of hoping on Acer, because generally Acer products are a little bit cheaper than like your ROGs or whatever. So if they can get the price lower with a G3 in it, maybe they'll sort of sweep the sort of budget offerings.
The entry, because the only valid entry point now, and I say valid with a big pinch of salt, is the Xbox Ally is increasingly impressive for its price. The white variant, what should be called the Xbox Ally S.
Yes.
Yeah.
For its price, it's an interesting offering. It's definitely undercooked compared to what else is on the market, but because of the subsidy from Xbox, I imagine it's still sitting at that, like, is it 500?
It often goes on sale for $450, and compare it to a $1,000 Steam Deck now.
Exactly.
It's half the price.
That thing absolutely baffled me, because it's like, when I reviewed it when it first came out, so like this is the Z2 Go, or is it the Z2A?
Oh,
in that the
Z2A.
It's the Z2A.
Z2A.
Z2A,
all right, cheers. Like when I reviewed it, like I ended up like giving the thing 3 stars when it's just like, okay, this is basically a Steam Deck, but £100 more expensive. So why would I get this thing?
Yes.
And now we're in that situation where I see the Steam Deck price go up and I'm just like, well, hold on a minute, fellas. Like, I might need to go back to this score and kind of change it, because this is the only thing that most people should probably get now that this thing's been priced out of existence. And there definitely has to be some kind of like subsidization going on in terms of that price.
Yeah. There's no way that they've managed to shield that much, absorb that much cost if everything else is almost doubling. But there's nothing else at that entry point that you could recommend. When we have people coming to us asking us, we quite often say, look at OpenBoxed, look at the Z1E, look at the Ally X. It's like good options if you've got a lower budget. So Acer could actually there's a big gap right there, that between 500 and 900 space, there's a massive gap there. If you could fit something into that gap.
Oh yeah, if they could get an Acer G3 in at like 800 or 899 or something like that, compared to where everything else is sitting, like well above into the 1,000, I think they would swoop down for sure.
100%.
The other thing is, what do AMD do from here? Because the AMD devices have been left really exposed by the G3 Extreme.
And they're sat to stay on RDNA 3 or 3.5 until 2029 or something, I think they said.
Yeah, the roadmap was something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. So AMD's got a very important decision to make about where they think their priorities lie. At the moment, it feels very much like they've already picked a road. They have picked AI. And you can tell that by some of the announcements that kind of came out of this show, where they've relaunched a desktop CPU that's like 10 years old and the desktop CPU is like 4 years old, and then it's like it's the 10th anniversary of this like socket that we've had, and it's like good for them.
Stare in the mirror some more. Well done.
And then there's this GPU that is the Radeon RX 970 GRE, which is good for what it is, and it's good for what it is, provided they can keep that retail price of $500. Well, 550, sorry. Like, if they can do that, great. But that all feels very much like it's just throwing scraps off to the people who may be playing games with their hardware and stuff like that. Like, there needs to be, like what Intel's been doing with like XeSS 3, so like really sort of like bringing my Arc B580 GPU at home really back to life in terms of like multi-frame gen and stuff like that. Like beforehand, it was just like, oh, this is a really good 1080p card. And then that came in. It was like, holy crap, like this has now really come back to life. The first steps need to be FSR4 needs to come to the integrated architecture.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but it needs to be there. And then number two, that roadmap that you're talking about, like that needs to change quick.
Yeah.
And that Ryzen Z3 Extreme needs Zen 4 cores on it.
Yep.
But RDNA 4 cores on it.
Yeah. We knew it.
It's it needs to, because they've been left totally exposed by this, and this Intel thing's not a surprise, like you said at the start. This isn't like rabbit out of a hat moment. This was a long time coming. Even the NVIDIA, the RTX Spark thing, that had been like whispered about. There wasn't a gigantic shock that happened. The AMD feel like they are exposed, basically. Then Z3 coming at a point where it's affordable to put into a handheld as well, and all of that.
Yeah, and that's
not going to be next year, is it?
No, and this is where I felt I don't want to say let down, because I think the device looks great, but with the new the Xbox Ally X20, we've seeing all the like the MSI, the Acer, the One X Pro, all these other things coming out with the G3 Extreme chip, and then you see the X20. And it's exactly the same device, just with a few tweaks, an OLED screen, and some glasses they're forcing you to buy with it, which makes no sense at all. But to see it still with the Z2 Extreme kind of made me go, like,
disappointing.
Like it would have been really nice if that had a G3 Extreme in it.
Well, I mean, let's take that bit by bit. I assume that the AR glasses... I assume that AR glasses are bundled in there because I can only guess the profit margin like AR glasses. And it's a high likelihood that that machine is going to be stupendously expensive. And throwing in a pair of AR glasses, even though your big selling point of your handheld is, oh, by the way, it has an OLED display. Also, you're not going to use it. We're going to give you these glasses.
I'm so glad you went there.
Makes no sense.
And I guess like at a fundamental level with the Ryzen Z2 or any of like the integrated graphics chips of AMD's family, like I guess like I'm not saying that they are like bad chips or they're like terrible at what they do. Like the Ryzen AI Max laptops, like they're bonkers in terms of like what frame rates you can get and stuff like that. And then also like the Ryzen Z2 Extreme and stuff like that. Like don't get me wrong, not as power efficient as the G3, but you can still get a really rather great gaming experience out of them.
Totally.
But it's more the fact that these other players like an Intel and stuff like that, they have a roadmap forward in terms of like what's happening. Like you can see where the G3 Extreme goes from here. Like they've put the technology in place. They now work with developers to get the games onto the platform and stuff like that in terms of like what it may be. In terms of the frame generation and resolution scaling, AMD has been super stuck on like FSR3, which as you're saying, and as I've been seeing, like you play any game that has anything more than like a walking speed on it, you're seeing 3 of the same character as you're kind of like walking forward and things like that. Or it can make the background look like a bit of a watercolor painting to the point that Vincent van Gogh might be a bit impressed in that. And the whole non-committalness makes me nervous that we're kind of at the stopping point of that. Like, where does it go from here? And I know that there's work between PlayStation and AMD in terms of like what things may be coming from there. And who knows, like the PlayStation handheld might be the thing that gives AMD a shot in the arm in terms of like the frame generation and resolution scaling stuff that could be possible.
True, yeah.
But at the moment, it all seems like a pause button has been hit. And then this gap that I've always assumed would always be there of like seeing MSI making its like Intel Claw handhelds and stuff, and I'm trying to be like, oh, that's good. I'm just going to go to my AMD one now.
Yeah.
That's now completely switched.
Yeah.
And
in the space of like one generation.
Not to get too like into conjecture, but like how long does a brand like ASUS stick around waiting for AMD to pull their finger out, and they without going, do you know what? We need to break whatever conventions are here and go over to Intel.
It's one of those questions that has God knows how many different answers. Like it could be because of some specific agreements on like exclusivity of using their silicon in their hardware and stuff like that. It could be very much you believe in the roadmap and you're thinking, okay, there might be something further down the road for all I know. I mean, a really good example is Apple back in the Intel days. They stuck with them for a few years and everything, and then they must have seen some kind of roadmap. They were like, screw this, I'm out. Yeah. And then they did Apple Silicon. Like, it can happen on a dime like that. And who knows, like, maybe there is something further down the road that we don't know about yet that may blow our minds and everything coming from AMD. And maybe that's what they're aiming for. Like, I know that ASUS told one of my team that the reason why they've stuck with AMD is because they want to keep a consistency of their like silicon generations and things. They want to keep giving people that same familiar experience, which in a way I get, but then also to your point, when you see all of this stuff happening over here, it's kind of like that seeing SpongeBob running outside the window kind of meme.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, when MSI get to steal that much of a march on you, then you have to pay attention, because us gamers don't have like really thick loyalty to devices. When we're pretty paper thin, it's just like whatever's going to give me the best performance for the price budget that I've got, I'm going to choose. And if that's MSI, if that's Acer, if that's One X player, I don't care. Whatever gives me the best performance for the price. So as handheld gaming gets more and more popular, which it does seem to be the trajectory, more and more people are going to come in from day one right now and going to go, okay, I've got my budget. Why would I pick the new ASUS device if it's still got the Z2E in it when over here there's the better option? They get left behind is my point, my concern for them.
Yeah, and my concern as well is, like you said, Jason, that they've put a pause on AMD front, and if they're going to stick with RDNA 3.5 until, like, I can't remember when it was. I swear they said 2029.
Something mad like that.
It was something crazy like that. Intel have just done the G3. By the time AMD come out, there's probably going to be like a G4 Extreme, let's say, and surely they'll have the jump on that as well, because they've, they're further ahead in that sort of march.
And then you have the kind of knock-on effect of like developers start giving more time and resources to XeSS over FSR because it's more widely adopted, or you're getting better results. And then suddenly anyway, it's all conjecture, isn't it? It's all got existential again.
And I mean, you don't even have to talk to me about like gamers being paper thin. I remember like when I was a kid, I ended up like buying a Sega Dreamcast, and I was on that for about 6 months until my mates were like, "You're using that?" And then I returned that immediately to the Asda and got a PS2 instead. So yeah, like it is.
Yeah,
gamers are very flaky in that way, and they will go with whatever the good thing is. And yeah, I know that one of those things is not necessarily about, like, most of it is about what you get in the here and now, and what you're getting in the here and now. The Arc G3 is outperforming anything that AMD has had.
Yeah.
And then looking ahead, it looks as if, to your point, like there could be a G4, G5 and things like that. And if they don't use the song Fly Like a G6 for the Arc G6 launch, I'm going to be so annoyed. And they have a clear roadmap. They've done this move onto chiplets on a system rather than a system on a chip. That has worked really well for them. Whereas, yeah, like you kind of looking over at Team Red side of the camp and just being like, okay, where do you go from here? And everyone's just looking at each other, just like, oh no.
Have you thought about XR glasses?
Yeah.
I'd love to know what room
actually.
that was designed in. That decision was made in, because I think I said in our announcement video, I was like, well, just like, for them to open the door to that room occasionally and just go outside.
Yeah.
Just test the water a little bit. Because the reaction universally from everyone about the ASUS XR glasses thing was, I don't want the glasses.
Just give me the
device, but I don't want the glasses.
Yeah, give me an OLED Xbox Ally, not the
No
glasses.
glasses.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the retail price for those, it's those ASUS ROG XVLR ones, like it's like
$850 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, $850, £750.
That's
like,
it. Yep.
if you want a cheap pair of those glasses, wait for this to launch. eBay is going to be packed full of them.
Oh yeah, that's so true. I hadn't even considered that, but that is
totally.
true. Yeah.
Madness. I guess I will wrap it up here now then. I want to know
more questions?
No more questions for right now, but we will kidnap you again. First of all, Jason, where can everyone find you if they don't know who you are and where to get you and what you're up to?
Okay, so you can find me over on tomsguide.com. I'm the managing editor of computing over there. I have an amazing team of people that write and make video so that you can all feel like the smartest geek in the room. And if you want to find me on socials anywhere, just put in Mr. Jason England. You'll find me there somewhere.
You do the odd video yourself as well. You're getting good at that.
I do.
I enjoy those.
dabble. Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Thank you.
Let us know if you've got any questions about the MSI devices or anything that's coming out of Computex as well. We'll try and put them to Jason. We'll kidnap again when he's back from China. Whilst you're down there, make sure you like this video, subscribe for more handheld gaming content. And Andy, what else should they do?
You can become a member and you get to chat to us, but unfortunately not Jason, over on our private Discord as well.
We'll have to give him access.
Yeah, that's it.
Love it. So until the next time.
Have a good day.
Take care, everyone.